Hi, my name is Barry, and I'm a friend and godfather in more ways than one, though not biologically, so we don't get in trouble legally in this,
Of who?
of Cadillac Zack. And this is the official origin story of Cadillac Zack. So you're already, Jesus Christ. Start
Keep
over.
going. No, it'll never end.
It'll never end. So, in 1969, when Zach's mother was pregnant with Zach, very pregnant with Zach, I was living in Beacon Hill in Boston, and she came over several times during that summer to visit with me. And at that time, I was in my super blues phase, and I also had a extremely high level stereo system in a thumbnail Macintosh, AR speakers, all the stuff at the top for 1969. Professional dual turntable, top sound reproduction, important in the origin story of Zack. So I decided, having heard at that time it was sort of a new thing being discussed, the research going on and babies in the fetal stage being exposed to music, particularly Mozart, that's where the research was done, and how it was shown that it did have an effect in the babies. They were hearing it. It actually affected them. I was thinking, that's great. It was in my head. And I was thinking, but Albert King might be a worthy successor in the 20th century to Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. So they were over the thing, and I decided I'll go with the first time it happened. So I had everything set up. I put on the first album, Sue, his mother, with Cadillac Zack in the optimal stereo zone, literally seated inside, but in the optimal stereo zone. And the very first thing I played, I put on, because I had just gotten the album fairly recently, it had been released not that long prior to that, as I would, was, as I remember, Live Wire, Blues Power by Albert King, recorded live. And I really liked it. I had tons of his albums, but I really liked that particular album because of the live thing and his relaxation during it, and of course, his guitar riffs were just exceptional on that, and the recording was just exceptional. The reproduction was just superb coming through the speakers. So I put it on. Everything was fine. I put it on. The very first song that Zach heard on that album was actually, I believe it was the second cut, if I remember correctly. You aficionados can go online and check it, but it was Blues Power. I think Watermelon Man was, I know the album so well. Watermelon Man was the first cut, but I put on Blues Power because the guitar riffs were, in my opinion, the best. That's a seminal guitar riff, which I can't even do with my voice, leave alone do with a guitar. And I know only one person who I believe can duplicate it now that Albert King is gone. Pardon my attempt at the thing. So I put on Blues Power, and that was the first thing that he heard. And also so I played it through for the whole cut. It was about a 10-minute cut. Fantastic. And then I played it again intentionally, and I was playing, because I knew it so well, I was dropping the needle right precisely at the points and playing over and over again the particularly great riffs, especially his signature, unduplicable. It was so great. Oh, incredible. And then I played the rest of the entire album, along with many other selections from other blues. But the only thing I played for him, actually, because I was so into it at the time, and had been going to New York frequently to see Albert, not that I knew him personally, was blues Albert King, period. That's what he was exposed to. But the extraordinary thing, I was so into it, and I did think at the time, and this is not a retroactive embellishment of the story, and I said it to Sue at the time too. I was thinking at the time, again, the thing with Mozart, I was thinking to myself, we didn't know he was a male or a female. This is before, prenatal, sex, and gender reveal parties. But I was thinking, and I said it, and I meant it. It wasn't like a fantasy thing. I was thinking, he's being exposed to what I was feeling was just some extraordinary music, extraordinary playing. It was so uplifting. I don't think I enjoyed the album as much as that times when I was playing it for him, because I was thinking it was something about the whole situation. Not that I knew he would become what he would become.
You were hearing it through the ears of the zygote.
Exactly. He was hearing it. Well, you were more than a zygote at that time. She was large. She was, she was large with pregnancy. But it was incredible. And I had seen Albert King fairly. Let's see, the one time I want to put in the side thing, which is why I really love this album being live, Although he came out with a later album the year afterwards, live at the Fillmore East. I'd seen him at the Fillmore East. I go down with my friend Charles. We'd gone down many times and seen him at other venues. He was there, and on the bill with him was, I believe it was their, as I'm recalling, their first. Slight side note: their first appearance in the United States. Unheard of. They hadn't released their first album. Jeff Beck Group, newly formed with Rod Stewart, and introduced. I think I seem to remember because the Fillmore East hadn't opened. That was only open like a few months at that time, or a little bit for a year. And
Faces.
I believe Bill Graham was there, and he introduced. He came out. No one in the crowd knew who he was, and he brought the house down. And of course, in show business, Albert King's, you got to come out, no matter how great you are. The unknown comes out and brings the house down, and then you have to come out and follow. But I have to say, being there, and everyone was like, "Oh, this guy, who's this guy?" And then Albert comes out, totally cool. His demeanor, his rap, his kibitz, as they say, in between is always very, calm and whatever. He came out and he just took the house back, which was really extraordinary considering Rod Stewart was going completely berserk, flipping the mic around, doing all this stuff. It was their first appearance in America, going nuts. Mm-hmm. And then Albert came out and took the thing. Then, of course, and I thought about this, and I would mention it to Sue in the ensuing years every once in a while, and saying, I wonder how this is going to turn out. And she was sort of, like most people, sort of, yeah, well, that was interesting. That's not going to have any effect. And then she calls up one day and says to me, oh, Zack, I think he was a teenager at that time. I forget the precise year, forgive me. You say, oh, Zack he's really into the blues. He's really getting into the blues. I said, yeah, of course, he's been in the blues before he was born. What are you talking about? From the best. And then later it develops, I hear, oh, he's really into Albert King. Now, I have to clarify in this doc, no time between the time of the initial, immersion and the meeting of the two greats, the great guitarist, and the great promoter. I never said to him anything about this. There was no mention about this where I said, by the way, you ought to look into the blues, Zack. I'm sending you a few albums. Check this guy out. Just to let you people know, it's an extraordinary situation. Never, I never mentioned it to him. He never knew about it. This, whatever took place, his interest in the blues was the natural interest that he pursued, including from that whatever. But in my opinion, it was meant to be. I don't believe it caused as much as it was meant to be. I was just the chosen person to be there to do this. It was part of this thing. And then I hear later from Sue, she said, oh, now it's really incredible. She calls me up. He's becoming like an expert in Albert King. And I'm like, yeah. I mean, I was thrilled, but I have to be honest, I wasn't shocked. Something about it, although it was extraordinary when I'm thinking about it as a phenomenon, but it didn't move me in that way. It was more like I was thinking, yeah, this is great, but it's meant to be. It's incredible. And then, of course, we all know now how it proceeded. He's become, like I would say, from what I know, certainly the greatest living expert, other than Albert King, and his main squeeze, as he always mysteriously referred to as women, because the white audience would not know what that meant, of course. He would say, main squeeze, that means your girlfriend, he'd say at every concert, and they'd say, yeah, Albert. Even the white boys, we know that at this stage, everyone here is a blues person. But then, of course, it developed, and now he's literally, the premier blues promoter, not just in California, not just in the country, probably in the world. And being out in the world myself, I've come across people that know him many times, but sometimes just coincidentally with someone I don't even know at all, like in an Uber, and it came up in conversation randomly about some other thing, and I mentioned his name, and they literally went berserk, like I had suddenly mentioned that I knew Elvis. And when they said, you know Cadillac Zack, how long you known him? And I said, actually, I didn't go into this story on the talk. I didn't say, by the way, when his mother was, but I just said, I've known him since before he was born. And they said, really? I said, really? And they said, oh, it's so incredible. It was a husband and wife, and the wife was like, oh, we got to meet him, and he's so handsome too. He was more handsome when we got up close, and we shook his hand, and so now he's a star. So this is the origin story that's led to this, and who knows where it's going, because this is just merely an ongoing story. He's only at the beginning of what he will really achieve, the first couple of acts, so we don't really know where this is going to go. But I feel it's truly an extraordinary story. It's real, and it says a lot about a lot of things, but the cosmic nature of what he's doing, it's just remarkable. I don't know. I know I've met a lot of people in my life. I don't know anyone that's had that this anything like this, where it's sort of a meant to be thing that they would pursue as their life's love and their life's success. Because you can love something, you can be knowledgeable about it, but you may not be successful. He's successful literally, not, and by promoting, I don't mean just business wise. I mean promoting it. He's probably blushing now. I'm looking at him. I can see a little flush on the cheek. But he is one of the people that's keeping blues alive, especially classic blues, and promoting it. And I'm sure that the still living cadre of elder statesmen of the blues all know that, and respect them. But I'm just glad that now I consider, that's why I refer to myself sort of as like the godfather in a sense of the way he is. And I think he feels the same way. So that's how we get into more details, but I think that's the core, and I believe that's extraordinary enough. I challenge anyone listening to this doc to come up with another origin story where it started like that and went seamlessly. This was not something he did, and then years later this was a thing that just went from there and has expanded, and who knows where it will go from here.
Thank you very much.
You are most welcome.
Nobody knew until today. Thank you for creating the monster.
I second that emotion with love.
Thank you.